Good evening, all of you. I hope I'm audible and visible to everybody. So, I welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep and I welcome you to today's session. Today, we'll talk about what all can be learned from CAT 2021 that can actually help us to crack VARC in CAT 2022 and other management entrance exams in 2022. That's the agenda for today. Okay, let me see some highs and hellos in the chat box so as to know that the chat box is working fine. All right. Hi, MS Creation, Anandu. Good evening. I hope I am visible. Hi, Anshu. All right. Somehow the stream isn't visible to me. Hi, Aditya. Okay, all right. Then I'm visible to you, then it's fine. Okay, so let's begin with the session. As I said, the objective of the session is that we'll focus on the key learnings from CAT 2021. We'll talk about the important topics that you need to cover for VARC. Post that, we'll discuss how you can start preparing, how you should prepare, and I'll also give you a time-based strategy towards the end. Okay, so this is what our objective is going to be. Good evening, Shreya. That's very good to know. I am good, Aditya. How are you? Uh, okay, so MS, see, the thing is that this is more geared towards management entrance exams. Okay. However, for any entrance exam that asks RC passages, this is going to work. Okay, so now it's for you to decide. All right. So, if I look at CAT 2021, this was the VARC pattern. Now, you must be thinking, okay, we know the pattern. Why are we looking at this? Because it's very important for us to know the framework. As I always tell you, always know the framework within which you have to operate, right? Because see, you know that okay, you have to, let's say, learn vocabulary words, but how important are vocabulary words? Or you think that okay, yes, grammar is a part of English language, absolutely correct, but how important is grammar for your entrance exams? You need to know that. So that is why it's important for us to know what all comes or what all came in CAT in 2021. Okay, so CAT for the last 6 years has been asking primarily RC passages and what I call verbal logic. Some of the students call it verbal ability. So that's why the the section's name is VARC. So the VA part is this para summary, para jumbles of two types. Okay, and this is the RC passages, reading comprehension passages part. Okay, now. RC passages, so because the exam's duration has been shortened, right? That is why the number of questions have also reduced. So if I talk about 2021, you had 24 questions in total in the VARC section. Out of these 16, that means, okay, tell me, that means two-thirds of your paper is actually RC passages, right? And the rest 8 questions, they were from your VA. Okay, so one-third is VA and two-third is RC passages if I go by the last year's pattern. Okay, this more or less has been the proportion if you look at last 6-7 years papers, right? So this sets up the tone of the session for today because it tells me, okay, reading is going to be something very important for me. Practicing this area, okay, some of these may be new for you. For instance, odd sentence out parajumbles. You do not have to make a sequence here. You just have to find out one sentence out of 5 sentences that does not go with the other sentences, that does not fit with the other sentences. So this might be something that may be new for you, right? As far as the question type is concerned, these are MCQs, RC passages and para summary, which means you are given 4 options. You have to choose out of these 4 options, and there is negative marking. So you get a -1 for an incorrect answer. However, these on the other hand are type in the answer. यहाँ कोई negative marking नहीं होती because there are no options given. So as a compensation, there is no negative marking as well, even if you get it incorrect. Right? So this is how your VARC pattern as far as just CAT is concerned looks like. Okay, 19 MCQs, 5 type in the answers, 24 questions in total. Time given to you would be 40 minutes. The entire paper is going to be of 120 minutes. And you have a +3 -1. You get a +3 for a correct answer and a -1 for an incorrect answer. So this is the background. Okay. So I have a question here. As last year questions were reduced, was the level of difficulty increased because of that? Okay. So see, from if you look at CAT from 2019, I think that shift towards us an increase in difficulty level that was made in 2019 itself. It didn't happen last year. Okay. So if you look at the papers till 2018, and then when you come to 2019, you will feel a difference in the difficulty level. Why? Because in 2019, you will see that there are quite a few passages in various slots that are excerpts from non-fiction. It's not like earlier such passages were not asked. However, you will feel that there is a difference in the level itself. You'll find some of them to be a little technical, a little academic. So that shift, I think it happened in 2019 itself. I didn't find that shift to be there particularly for 2021. I did feel that. Okay. So if you practice all your past year papers, no, you yourself will feel when, let's say, the difficulty level shifts, when there has been a change in the type of passages, kinds of passages, difficulty level. So that is why the past year papers are our Bible. They are very important for us. Okay, I'll talk to you about them also. Let's proceed. Okay, now this was the broad VARC pattern. I wanted to talk to you about the RC topics also that were asked last year. How they'll help us, we'll come to know again. When I talk about the learnings from CAT 2021, you'll realize, okay, why is it important for me to know kaise RCs पूछते, right? So slot 1, 2, 3. Slot 1, there was this passage on utopia, dystopia. It was a philosophical passage. Okay, so it talked about how the philosophy, the notion of utopia, it was different. It has been different in different times. Okay, that to the point that an earlier notion of utopia could seem dystopian today. So it's first of all, it's very important that you know the meanings of utopia and dystopia. Yes, yes. What are the meanings of utopia and dystopia? So vocabulary comes into the picture. So this is how and this is why vocabulary is important even for an exam like CAT that is not asking you direct vocabulary questions, right? The next passage was on tea trade. Okay, so this was business and economics, right? A business passage, let's say tea trade. So some students, okay, again, I'll talk to you why again I'm discussing this in detail in the very next slide. Okay, don't want to reveal that before it's due time. Experiments on cuttlefish. So this was a science passage here. Mayan civilization. I hope you've heard of the Mayans. Mayan civilization. In fact, a passage on the Mayan civilization has appeared in CAT earlier as well, in the previous years as well. So what the Mayans considered to be a person, their notion of personhood, that is what the passage talked about. So it was history and sociology combined, right? So basically it was an interdisciplinary passage that bordered on history and sociology both. So diverse genres, right? Utopia is a perfect world. It's an ideal world, right? So here Understanding what utopia is, what dystopia is, would have helped you in attempting this passage. Now, if you see very varied genres, some of you might like business, some of you might like science as a genre, some of you might be history fans, right? And in the rare case, some of you might be philosophy fans as well. Okay, so the first learning from CAT 2021 is that passage prioritization is very important. Okay, why is that the case? Why is passage prioritization important? Because see, if you look at slot 1, some students told me that okay, the first passage for them was Utopia Dystopia, the very first passage. And they didn't prioritize their passages. They started attempting this right away. Now, this was not an easy read. This was not an easy read. So as a result, some students ended up reading this twice, something I do not recommend. Okay, they ended up reading it twice. The questions were also not very straightforward. They ended up spending a lot of time on this very first passage, which actually hampered their time management. It resulted in their spending less time on these two passages, which happened to be easy, pretty easy, right? So passage prioritization is very important. Otherwise, you may end up wasting time in the passage, compromising on those questions where you could have scored well, right? Basically decreasing your score. And in fact, it hampers your confidence also. जो पहले passage में समझ नहीं आ रहा है, इतना time लग गया. So prioritize your passages, right? Which slot did I find easier? See, if VARC is concerned, then slot 1 was easy. Some people said that slot 3 was easy. Okay, so honestly, it's very personal. So if you are somebody who likes, let's say, business, science, and history, all of these three, let's say you are that kind of a person. For instance, I like business also, I like science also, and both these passages were easy. So I let's say again, I would choose T trade first. I would attempt it, then I would choose this. दोनों easy हैं, दोनों में accuracy अच्छी आ गई. अब उसके बाद time भी बचा है, and now I know okay I have to attempt these. Maybe my accuracy was fair in this also. So I ended up scoring high. So it's very individual as to which slot was easier. Okay. Um, if you are asking about normalization, then I think in slot 1 and in slot 2, uh, the scaling, because of the scaling, the marks went up. That means that probably compared to slot 3, they were considered to be tougher. Okay? So I think that answers your question for VARC. Okay. Now, this was okay. Let's quickly look at the other topics as well. Nationalism and colonialism. So again, history and social science, right? Then social science का part है, ठीक है, history भी. Decline of languages. Okay, languages is something on which questions have been asked even in your previous year papers. Okay, so there was one about language and identity in one of the past years, that how your identity is impacted by your language and vice versa. Then knowledge and skepticism, ये again philosophy था. Truth and power was also philosophical, right? Nanoparticles, science, timekeeping, this is a miscellaneous sort of a topic, right? Language is an instinct, again see language, and this is psychology. So such diverse genres: philosophy, business, science, social sciences, including history, languages, psychology. I see 7 genres right here on one slide. Okay, so 7 genres right here. All right, so passage prioritization is very important, and you need to be diverse readers. You need to be eclectic readers. Okay, you need to be eclectic readers. That's very, very important. That's the first learning. Okay. And on how do you prioritize your passages? If you want to know that, see, this is how I do it. I look at, okay, fine, this passage interests me. This belongs to my area of interest. Secondly, I think the language is also not difficult. So this is how I prioritize my passages. Okay, I do not read the questions. I do not, let's say, see, acha itna direct hai, itna inference hai. That's not easy for you to guess. It all depends on the options, right? So don't go by that criteria. All right. Now, the second learning from CAT 2021 is that question selection is very important. So if the passages that I've discussed with you, so let's say those two passages in slot 1, utopia, dystopia, and what Mayans consider to be a person, right? I told you that these were not that easy passages. So out of 4 questions, it is not that you had to attempt all the 4 questions. The questions were also not very straightforward. In one of the passages, even if you attempted 2 questions accurately, it was fine. In one, if you attempted 3 questions, basically इनमें मिला के 3 questions tricky थे. ठीक है, so you should be able to identify कि कौन सा question tricky है. ठीक है, कैसे पता चलेगा वो? Let's say you're not able to narrow down to 2 options. A very easy criterion, right? अब 2 options पर भी मैं narrow down नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. That means yes, I'm finding this question tricky, right? If I, let's say, have narrowed down to 2 options, but I am unable to, even after, let's say, spending about a minute, I am unable to assign a higher probability to any one of the options. अगर 1 minute हो गया और higher probability नहीं हो रही है narrow down करने के बाद भी, that means yes, it is tricky for me, right? So these 2 scenarios tell you that okay, this question is tricky for you, and what should you do in that scenario? Let's go to the next slide. I'll check your queries in a while. Let me just finish this once, right? This might lead to, in case let's say you are unable to assign a higher probability even after narrowing down to 2 options. So what happens? Students are somehow not able to let go. They'll not let go of that question even then. They get stuck. And when you are stuck, when you involve yourself so deeply in a problem, sometimes that's counterproductive. Sometimes it makes you more indecisive because you're trying to just confirm things, reconfirm things, फिर भी आपको doubt आ रहा है. So don't do that. At that moment, distance yourself from the question. Okay, distance yourself from the question, which means proceed to the next question. You can come back to this question later. Once you've attempted all your easy questions, all your moderate questions, then you can come back if you have the time for your difficult questions. Right? I always tell this, the marks to sabke liye +3 milenge, even for an easy question, even for a difficult question. Okay. All right. Okay, Aditya. Noted. All right. So Tanjeem, okay, how will my score help you? Tell me. I'll tell you my score. How will it help you? The key for Snap slot 3 only for English. I honestly, Harsh, I don't understand why there's such hue and cry, particularly for slot 3 English. I think Saral sir discussed quite a few questions there. Okay. Also, see, Snap does not release an official answer key, right? And I remember very clearly he mentioned that a 10 plus score is a very good score in general English, right? So in case you think, if you're sure even about 10 of your questions, and no, more than 10 of your questions because there's negative marking too. If you're sure about, let's say, 12 of your questions and you have not attempted indiscriminately, then I think you are good to go. I am not understanding this obsession. Yesterday also in Telegram group, I spent a lot of time discussing those. I will share it, no issues there. Just that you don't need to worry a lot about it. Okay, 15 questions, right? If you're clearing the cutoffs, that's fine. Okay. Now, the next learning is that a broader time management is essential. Okay, so what I've realized is that, let's say you have decided that first I'm going to attempt all the RC passages, then I'm going to go to the VA section, the 8 questions there, right? So how much time would you devote to these? So usually I've seen this, that students keep 30 minutes for this and 10 minutes for this. This is what I've usually seen. They feel that, okay, for 4 passages, I need 30 minutes. So stick to these timelines that you've decided for yourself. I am not saying that keep looking at the timer every other minute. That's why I'm saying a broader time management. But एक broadly एक sense हमें रहना चाहिए that okay, if let's say 4 passages I am finishing in 30 minutes, that means 7.5 minutes per passage. So fine, one passage can take me 8 minutes. Let's say one passage was extremely difficult, it took me 9 minutes, but it shouldn't go beyond that, right? Shouldn't go beyond that. So, and yes, of course, some passages might take me less time as well because it's an area of my interest. Passages bhi bahut easy the, as I told you, 2 of the passages were easy. So broadly you have to keep a track that you stick to the timelines that you set for yourself. That's very important because again, as I told you that some students get stuck in some questions, in some passages, in some sets in LRDI, and because they're so stubborn about attempting it, they are so bent on attempting it, or they are somehow not able to let go, because that's how our education system has prepared us, सब कुछ attempt करके आना, लिख के आना है. So because of this, their time management goes for a toss. Okay, and once that happens, even if let's say आपका कोई रियल इम्पैक्ट ना आए इस पे इससे, बट आपके कॉन्फिडेंस पर इम्पैक्ट आ जाता है उसी टाइम व्हेन यू नॉट एबल टू स्टिक टू योर टाइमलाइन, एंड दैट कैन एक्चुअली ट्रांसलेट इनटू नेगेटिव मार्क्स पे, right, if you panic there. Okay, so confidence is impacted. All right, now coming to, okay, the last point, your temperament matters. So, as I said, that 2 of the passages were tricky. So, navigating those through those 2 passages, right? You would come across new words, new terms, you would come across new concepts, things that you may not have heard before, and you're processing all of it in a limited time frame. Then you come across difficult questions, you're racking your brains there, right? So, how you deal with all of that, that matters a lot. So some students get really frustrated by such things, particularly let's say when I ask some students to read something related to philosophy, they say nahi, ho hi nahi payega. Psychology for some students poses this challenge. So your temperament in how you navigate through the challenges that you face in the exam. So for instance, those people who went for slot 1 in 2021, they didn't know how many questions they are going to face because Ahmedabad had announced that we'll reduce the number of questions, but they hadn't given any specifics of it, right? So, how you deal with surprises, how you deal with difficult portions, that actually decides how your performance is going to be. Okay? So, for VARC, I particularly feel that your temperament matters a lot, right? So, yes, these are the things. Okay. So in verbal logic, in fact, even for your RC passages, there is something called critical reasoning that will help you a lot. So some of you might have covered it with me in your respective batches. Some of you may have just heard of it. So in critical reasoning, we make arguments, right? So arguments, counter arguments, right? We put our viewpoint backed by reasons. So for instance, I'm just giving an example to you here. So I asked Tanjeem, why do you think sharing my marks will benefit you? Right? And she gave a reason for it. So her argument is that Pranav sir shared his marks. So when I asked why my sharing my marks will help you. Okay, this was my question. So when we study critical reasoning, we realize that the answer to this should be a merit of my, if you want to say that okay, this is how I will help you, you should share a merit of it. We should not go for analogies, we should not go for comparisons. Okay, that is a weak way of arguing. Why am I talking about critical reasoning? Because a lot of your RC passages questions have now started being of the type of critical reasoning. They'll ask you, okay, which of the following options will strengthen the author's argument in the passage? What would weaken the author's argument in the passage? So you need to realize कैसे arguments strong होते हैं, कैसे arguments weak होते हैं. Right? So this is something that you'll study with me, critical reasoning. And I have taken some sessions on this on YouTube also earlier. You can watch those as well. Right? Okay. Now, coming to areas to be covered. What all areas do you have to cover? Right? So, RC passages, that's one. Verbal logic, vocabulary and grammar. Now, you must be thinking, why am I talking about vocabulary and grammar when CAT has not really asked them? See, first is indirectly, it will help you for your RC passages. That's the indirect part. Directly, it is asked in almost all the other exams. Okay. So it is only CAT that is not asking you vocabulary. Otherwise, SAT, IFT, SNAP, NMAT, TISNET, MyCat, you name the exam, they ask you vocabulary questions. So that's why we have to prepare for 2022. We have to prepare for this as well. I'm assuming that will take more exams. Okay. All right. Now, coming to unable to see my course on app. Uh, Currently, I think the batch that is available on in which we are taking enrollments is batch 5. Maybe you'll look at that one. Okay, so batch 5 has Saral sir, Sanojam sir, and Vikas sir. I think these three teachers are there in it. But yes, again, great batch. Saral sir is teaching in it. Vikas sir is there. Sanojam sir, all of them seasoned faculty members, right? Okay. All right. That's because these batches have been divided, no? That's why. This is the latest one. I'm taking one of the older batches. That's why. Okay. All right. Yes. So the plot regarding my score is thickening. Let me just reveal it. Okay. So I'll talk to you about all the scores that I've got. In NMAT, I got 96 in language skills. Then the next that I took was CAT. I got a 98.46 percentile in VRC this time. Not very happy with my score. Then in ZAD, I got a 99.9 percentile in the VRC section, right? And the SNAP results are not out. So these are the exams that I took this time. Okay. I hope that satisfies your queries and we can proceed. Okay. So 96 is the score. 96 is my score in NMAT. Okay, language skills mein. Okay. Coming to what to do. So what all is it that you should do right from now in order to get better as far as the VRC section is concerned? See, I think this is a no-brainer that you have to read, right? ये तो बिल्कुल ही no-brainer है. Considering that 2/3 of my paper, if it is reading comprehension, then I have to cover both these aspects, read and I have to learn how to comprehend well, right? So first step, out and out reading. Let's talk about it in detail because you must be thinking ये तो हमें भी पता था, right? And this is something that I say every time the students think मैम आप तो कुछ नया बोलते ही नहीं. So let's discuss this in detail. What do I mean and how you can actually implement. Okay, first thing, कैसे start करें, कहाँ से start करें? What is it that I should start reading? Anything that you like. Okay, start with that. Now, the terms and conditions that apply to it is you should always read something that is grammatically correct. We do not want you to pick up incorrect grammar. And of course, that is semantically correct also. In terms of language also, it should make sense. As far as this is the case, you can actually start reading anything that you like. Okay, best newspapers, Aditya. I'll come to that also. I'll give you reading sources. Okay. So let's say you like fantasy. Okay, you can start with Lord of the Rings. I don't mind. Okay, you can start a Song of Ice and Fire. You can start Harry Potter. Let's say you like mystery, right? You can start with Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie. So start with anything that you like. Don't think that anything is childish. Everything is on the table. Start with anything. We just want you to get hooked to reading. Okay, so anything is fine as far as this is the case. Okay, why am I saying this? Because if I right away I prescribe you a philosophy novel, let's say, मैंने philosophy का भी novel बताया आपको, जिसमें fiction भी है, let's say, story भी है. But then also if philosophy does not interest you and you are just starting out, you may get bored. So we don't want that. We want first to develop that habit. So कुछ भी जो अच्छा लगता है वो pick up कर लो. ठीक है? January to March are the months when you build this reading habit by just sticking to it, by forcing yourself every day to read. जैसे भी करो रीड करो एवरी डे, ठीक है? ओके, नाउ coming to what are the sources from where we should read. Okay, so you were asking me which all newspapers to read. Now, if this basically these are the sources of your past year RCs. So I am not suggesting these from my end. After an analysis, particularly of the latest papers, particularly of the last 6-7 years since the pattern of CAT changed, this is what I have filtered down to these 10 sources, right? So the sources of your passages have been foreign newspapers, the NYT, the Guardian. Okay, so that is why I would recommend that you at least read the editorials of these. So let's say one day you read the editorial of NYT, one day you read the editorial of the Guardian. If you don't have even that kind of time, one day pick up one article from NYT, one day pick up one article from the Guardian. So some reading from these sources, sorry, that I am suggesting to you should happen. BBC.com, all of you know what BBC is, what it does, right? Then these are some magazines whose e-version is also available, right? Some of them are exclusively e-magazines like Eon, Smithsonian Mag, Scientific American. Some of them are available both in the offline and online format, right? So these magazines have formed the sources of many of your past year RCs, not a single one, otherwise I would not have included them अगर एक का ही source होता, ठीक है? So you can start with these sources when it comes to newspapers, when it comes to magazine reading, right? So now you might be thinking, अच्छा ये तो बहुत सारा reading हो गया. Why? Because I am talking to you about reading fiction or non-fiction also. I am talking to you about reading newspapers also, magazines also. So how will you manage all of this? Let's discuss that. Achha, so I have some queries here. I am in the SCMHRD and University of Edinburgh, UK. So it depends on what all courses. So for instance, in University of Edinburgh, UK, what course you've got. Okay, what course are you interested in? Are you interested in HR? Right? So it depends on all those factors. I suggest that you post this query in our Telegram group, okay? And I'll get somebody to respond to it, right? Because you'll have to give me some more details here. Okay. Yes. So this concern is very legit, Tanjeem. And the NYT, the Guardian, they are not completely free. Okay, some articles per week they provide you for free. So even if you read those articles, even that is fine. Okay, we just want you to become used to the writing style of foreign authors, how they write, what are the issues that they are discussing. You have to familiarize yourself with that. That is the purpose, right? Okay. How many hours to read? Uh, okay. All right. For how many hours to read? Let's come to that. So, how to read? Kitne hours de? Yes, that's the question. See, my simple advice to you is start your day with reading. So here I'm talking about newspapers slash magazines. Okay. And finish your day with reading. Here I'm talking about fiction or non-fiction. Okay. Now, minimum, I want you to read fiction for let's say 20 to 25 minutes and non-fiction for minimum 15 minutes, right? So, let's say 45 minutes at night, 45 minutes at night. In newspapers or magazines, okay, newspapers or magazines, let's first discuss newspaper. You have to be selective here. What students do is they'll read the whole newspaper from top to bottom, okay, page by page, and then they'll come to me and say, "हमें तो कल 5 hours लग गए newspaper read करने में." Okay, there was no time left for anything else. No, you don't have to do that. Okay, अभी retire नहीं हुए हम, इतना time हम newspaper को देंगे. Be selective. So editorials are a must. The international page is a must. Right now, let's say you picked up these two pages. Even in these, let's say on the editorial page, I don't read each and every article there. I first see who has written that article. Okay, so what's the topic, who has written it, can this authority be biased? For instance, if there's an article about a political party written by the politician of that political party, then it's likely to be biased. I would probably not read the entire thing, just read the gist of it, the sub headlines that are there. So be smart about reading the newspaper. right? However, let's say even if you manage to read about 10-15 articles in the morning, right? 10-15 articles in the morning, if you're doing that, that's absolutely fine. Whatever time you take, it'll depend on your reading speed. Okay, in my opinion, I think 30 to 45 minutes here as well would suffice. ओके न्यूज़पेपर्स मैगजीन्स ये सब सोर्सेज सब कवर हो जाएगा 45 मिनट्स में इन माय ओपिनियन बिकॉज आई एम नॉट आस्किंग यू टू यू नो वाइप देम फ्रॉम टॉप टू बॉटम आई एम नॉट आस्किंग यू दैट आई एम जस्ट आस्किंग यू टू रीड सम सेलेक्टेड आर्टिकल्स आई होप दिस मेक सेंस बहुत ज़्यादा ज्ञान नहीं हो रहा है यस e-magazine subscriptions you don't need. Eon is free. Smithsonian is mostly free, I think. I haven't really encountered any restrictions there. Even Scientific American, even if there are restrictions, some of it is free. So you do not need to buy any subscription. Okay. I have even created content. I have even created RC passages in the past, and then also I didn't buy any subscription. So you just have to read. You don't even have to scan so many articles. You don't need to. Okay. Now, you must be thinking, why am I focusing on fiction also? When actually, in the reading sources, I mentioned that excerpts from non-fiction books have been asked. Anybody जिसने सोचा था या मैं ही सोच रही हूँ ज़्यादा? अच्छा. So, we are trying to build some skills through reading. Okay. तभी पढ़ रहे हैं हम ऐसे तो नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. So, what are the skills that I need to build for my RC passages? I need to have a good reading speed because time constraint exam mein. I need to be able to understand, okay, whatever I read. And after understanding it, मुझे याद भी रहना चाहिए. I should be able to retain it also. The retention is also important. Yes. So primarily these are the skills that I'm trying to build. I have suggested non-fiction for the comprehension part. Okay. Primarily, this is what I'm trying to achieve through non-fiction because it will present some new topics to you. Let's say you're reading something on politics and you do not, till now, you are not very interested in politics. You'll have to understand things, right? So, if you pick up, let's say, a book like India After Gandhi and you've not been interested in history and politics so far, आपको धीरे-धीरे समझना पड़ेगा, links बनाने पड़ेंगे. So that way it will build comprehension. Speed. If you pick up Sherlock Holmes, you will be hooked because again you would want to know, okay, who's the murderer, who has done. So that will build your reading speed. Fiction builds your reading speed. And collectively, both of them, see, it's easier to retain a story. Collectively, when you push yourself to read non-fiction also more and more, your retention, आपको जितने points याद रहते हैं, that will also improve. So that is why I am suggesting all of these things to you. I hope I'm making sense. Okay. So Tanjeem is saying that sometimes it's difficult to understand the editorial articles. So why does that happen? Make this a rule. In your preparation, particularly for VARC, okay, always ask the question why. कुछ भी problem है, पूछो why. So क्यों होता है ऐसा कि समझ नहीं आ रहा? Maybe the vocabulary is difficult. Yes. Maybe I am unfamiliar with the topic. मैंने इससे पहले कभी सुना ही नहीं उसके बारे में. Maybe the writing style is very dense. Each of these problems can be addressed. Vocabulary is difficult. See which all words you found difficult. You can do this, I think, for at least one article every day. I'm not asking हर article में बैठ के देखो meanings. No. But at least for one article every day can be done. Right? Familiarity. If I talk about familiarity, so that is something, it's a cycle. You initially will encounter problem when you read something unfamiliar. It's bound to happen. When I first read Economic Times back in college, मुझे लगा क्या हो गया है? What are all these terms? Yes. So it's only when you put yourself in that challenging situation again and again that those terms will become familiar. Right? So for one article, again, every day you can do this. See which all vocabulary words are new for you. See their meanings. What all terms you didn't understand. So you could do this in the editorial page or in the business page, let's say, if business and economics is not really your area. Okay. And if the writing style is very dense or if it's something that's not to your liking, again ask the question why. क्या इसने जान के particularly इतना difficult लिखा हुआ है? It's not a usual writing style, or is it that such articles are common, it's just that I am not used to reading them? Accordingly you will find a solution. So there are no one size fits all solutions when it comes to VARC. कोई एक definite answer नहीं है quant की तरह कि एक ही answer सही है. It all depends on what is right for you. Okay, all right. But there is the editorial page, no? In some newspapers it's called the opinion page, in some it's called I mean there are different names there. So op-ed is an opinion page extended in some newspapers, right? An editorial page extended. In some it's called the editorial only. So it varies from newspaper to newspaper. Okay? All right. So yes, start your day with reading, finish your day with reading. Reading should become part of your nature if you want to crack the VARC section of CAT. There is no other solution. If you think you'll not be able to do it, you should not prepare for CAT. I am being very brutally honest with you. Okay. All right. Also, there are a lot of benefits. It's not just for RC passages. It will help you in your writing ability tests also. ठीक है, बाद में WATs भी तो लिखने हैं ना, essays लिखने हैं बाद में. It's a part of the process, the stage 2 of the process. It will help you there. You have to generate content, you have to have points. वो कहाँ से आएंगे? आपने जितना रीड करा होगा वहां से आएंगे, right? It will help you in your personal interviews because it will make you an aware individual, right? So there it will help you. It will even help you for your para summary and para jumbles questions. Because para summary kya hai? What is para summary? It's a paragraph. It has been picked up from somewhere, no, from some genre, from some area. If you are used to reading that genre, if you're aware about that issue, topic, it will become easier for you. Right? And in your MBA, during your MBA, you have to read a lot. Okay, there are pre-readings for a particular chapter, there are post-readings for a particular chapter. So it will prepare you for that kind of life by building that reading speed. Okay? All right. Okay, so Amit, yes, let's talk about Indian newspapers. I didn't address those. So there is TOI, there is Hindustan Times, there is Indian Express, there is the Hindu. Okay, so ये पूरा ही लिख देती हूँ मैं. The Hindu. Then there's Mint. Okay. My suggestion to you would be to not go for TOI because I have found a lot of grammatical errors a lot of times in it. So I do not recommend it. Okay. HT is simple, but why not? Why not pick up something that's more of a challenge? So the Indian Express, the Hindu, I recommend these two. Okay. The Indian Express is easier in terms of language, in my opinion, as compared to the Hindu. So if you're somebody for whom vocabulary is a challenge, you could start with the Indian Express. Okay. And the Hindu is top-notch when it comes to vocabulary, right? Mint is not a mainline newspaper. The Live Mint, I'm talking about that. It is primarily a business newspaper. So you can supplement it with the mainline newspapers. Don't read it exclusively. The benefit of Mint is that it has some really good business analysis and its language is very simple. Okay. If you want something more challenging in the business world, then I recommend Business Standard. Okay. So these are my recommendations as far as Indian newspapers are concerned. They'll help you with your general knowledge. They'll help you to prepare for your PIs. Okay. All right. Resume building session. I think we'll take one separately, Ayush. It's a whole another session. Okay. So can't discuss it in just 5 minutes. All right. Now, what to do? Reading तो हो गई. बस अब reading enough है? Is it enough now? Will you crack the VRC section just on the basis of reading? No, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to solve RC passages. Solving भी आनी चाहिए. Questions attempt करना आना चाहिए. Right? So during this time, as I said, January to March is the time when you build your concepts. Right? During this time, build these comprehension and solving skills. How would solving an inference question be different from solving a main idea question or from solving a direct question, right? How should I eliminate, particularly when I find options to be close, to be tricky? How can I retain the passage better? What is mind mapping? So these are the concepts that are involved there. Students think English mein kya hai? पैसेजेस तो हम ही तो पढ़ सकते हैं, बस पैसेजेस में कोई क्या बता सकता है, राइट? देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ कॉन्सेप्ट्स दैट आर इन्वॉल्व्ड हियर दैट यू शुड होन particularly in these during these months so that you can execute those things in the coming month. ठीक है? Yes, reading books, Lindsay, it does help in VARC. Okay, books as in fiction, non-fiction. I'm not talking about your college textbooks, right? It does help you. Okay, to give you an example, last year there was an RC passage from this book called On Writing by Stephen King. Now, fortunately, I had read that book, and the RC passage came from that book. So it was utterly familiar for me. I breezed through that passage. So this is a one-off chance, of course, but reading books does help you in the sense कि आपको वो चीज बिल्कुल अनफेमिलियर नहीं लगेगी। फिर आपने फिलोसफी पे एक बुक पढ़ी हुई है अगर, तो अगर मैं आपको कुछ फिलोसफी पर दे दूं, इवन व्हेन इट्स न्यू फॉर यू, इट विल नॉट बी daunting for you, will not be challenging for you, right? So that comfort on a psychological level is very, very important. Okay. Reading novels, Acha, you are saying. Does reading novels help? As I said, it will help you indirectly. Reading novels helps you in an indirect way. How? By building your reading speed and by building that habit of reading. Usually, there is a minority of students who like non-fiction, but mostly students tell me they like fiction. So when we are in the habit building stage, let's say when in this month or in February, I tell students, जिससे भी reading habit बनती है वो read करो. So if that is novels for you, then be it novels. Let it be novels. However, yes, non-fiction will benefit you more when it comes to comprehension, when it comes to RC passages. वो थोड़ा ज़्यादा relatively आपको करेगी benefit. But speed आपकी novel से बनती है. ठीक है? I hope that helps. So अगर मुझे marks देने तो मैं non-fiction को थोड़े से ज़्यादा दे दूंगी in terms of importance. However, that does not mean that this won't help. Okay. Now, third thing, okay, so reading हो गई, comprehension हो गया, concepts build कर लिए, but in case you do not know the meanings of various words. So I've taken a number of sessions. So last year also I took a number of sessions where I showed that how knowing certain vocabulary words helped you big time in RC passages. In CAT 2018 or 19, there was this RC passage about British colonialism. And you must be thinking, British colonialism तो हम बहुत आराम से कर लेंगे, ठीक है, हमें कैसे नहीं पता होगा उसके बारे में. But there were terms like in the Enlightenment, okay, rationalism. Now, these were movements, okay, the Enlightenment. Rationalism is a philosophy. They had, in fact, contrasted it with empiricism. So, in case you knew about these words, you knew the meanings of these words, you were aware of what these things are, it helped you big time when it came to solving RC passages. So, vocabulary building is a must, okay. And in this, on this note, I conducted a series called Must Know Words to Navigate RCs. So in each session, we talked about a particular RC. So for instance, must know words to navigate philosophy RCs, must know words to navigate political RCs. So this series is available on YouTube, okay, for free. You can access it. You can go to my playlist, okay, Nikita's playlist, something of that sort, and you'll find all these sessions there. So vocabulary building is a must. एंड आई अग्री, रीडिंग से बिल्ड होगी, इनडायरेक्टली आप इम्प्रूव करोगे, वो सब होगा, बट वो बहुत स्लो प्रोसेस है. दैट्स अ स्लो प्रोसेस. Okay, we want something that's relatively faster, because if you're interested in an exam like SNAP, in an exam like NMAT, if you're interested in those exams, they are heavily reliant on vocabulary. They are vocabulary intensive exams. So you have to do something beyond reading in order to build it. Okay. So अब आने वाला है वो सोल्यूशन जो मैं बार बार देती हूँ, समथिंग दैट आई टेल यू ऑलमोस्ट एवरी सिंगल टाइम, वर्ड पार मेड इजी. Go for this book. It will definitely add about 1200 words to your vocabulary in 45 days, which is a good number. Once you are done with this, then you can go for Barron's list. Okay. So balance list, basically there is balance 3000, there's balance 800, balance की जो list है उस वो मतलब different length की आती है. Okay, so I recommend that okay, you go for balance 800 first, right, and then we can probably consider doing more words. So these are a must. Okay, 15 minutes every day. If you take out for this, no, word par made easy has chapters, so एक chapter आपका 15 minutes में हो जाएगा. So take out 15 minutes every day. um, this could be any 15 minutes. Let's say you are going somewhere and you have the time to uh, usually, you know, earlier I used to talk about commuting, but during COVID hardly anybody is commuting. So your commute time, some time that you get during the day, you can devote to this consistently. Okay, then let's talk about, yes, you must be thinking ये तो बस सब reading हो गया, right? RCs हो गए. What about these other areas? How do I build the vocabulary for these other areas? What do I do for that? So two things. See, verbal logic, as I said, that it involves critical reasoning. So these are again concept driven. You have to uh, learn the concepts for these. Okay, it's not like plain old reading will help you crack parajumbles also, parasummary also. It doesn't work that way. You have to build those concepts and attending classes regularly, right? Working, going through your homework, what and doing whatever I tell you. Those are the things that will get you through as far as verbal logic is concerned. And so therefore, again, बार मैं जो बोल रही हूँ, Jan to March, this is the time when you should build these concepts. Okay. For grammar, again, it's something that's very rule driven, very concept driven. So you again have to attend classes, you have to practice whatever I tell you to. So this is how these can be done. I have told you the things that you can do on your own, on your part. For these, you have to know the concepts first, right? Rajiv, for WordPad Made Easy, yes, it is available online. Balance list is also available online. But I would recommend that you purchase WordPad Made Easy offline because it asks you to fill in, there are exercises at the end of every chapter wherein you are supposed to fill in the answers to various questions. So it becomes very interactive when you actually do that, right? So that's what I would recommend. Balance list online kar lo. Okay? Okay, so this is all scattered right now. अच्छा read करना है, सुबह करना है, रात को करना है, okay. 45 minutes करना है. But then I also have to work on comprehension skills. I also have to work on solving. I have to build concepts. So how do I do this in a timed manner, right? First things first, take a practice test, a diagnostic test. So why don't you pick up last year's paper, or why don't you pick up any past year paper that is easily available online, last 5-6 years ka, and see how you fare in that paper, right? That will tell you where you stand right now. And your preparation has to be, then, it has to be decided accordingly how much time you have to devote to particular sections, particular areas. So this is something that you should do right away if you're serious about CAT 22. Then, as far as VARC is concerned, right now at this stage, even if you devote 2 to 3 hours per week to the part about concept building, I was talking to you about this, no? Learning how to solve various question types, building those elimination skills. Even if you're devoting 2 to 3 hours per week to this concept building and solving, that's enough. Okay, right now at this stage. Why? Why is it enough? Because see, this is the time that you have. I hope this is visible and I'm not really coming in the way. If I am coming in the way, you can tell me. So that's because I am not visible to myself. I'm visible to you. So I was saying that January to March is the time when you build your concepts, right? Then April to August is the time when you execute. When you execute those concepts. Okay, till here it's visible, no? April to August mein aap execute or advance karte ho. That means, okay, whatever concepts I've built, now I'll start implementing that through various practice tests, through some sectionals, through some mocks that will go live in April. So this is the part where you really learn things, where you improve on your weaknesses, etc. And then September to November is the time when what I've written here is hone and strategize. when you hone and strategize, when you hone your skills. Okay, ये problems रह गई थी थोड़ी थोड़ी, so let's just work on those and let's build a strategy for the exam. So we'll conduct a lot of strategy sessions when we reach that time. Okay, don't worry about it. So this is how your time should be divided. Okay, so this is a broad timeline. Acha, so I have some query here. What about vocab? How to remember? Okay, yes, Pratishtha. Very pertinent question. Learn to कर लिया, but मुझे याद नहीं रहता. Right? I have learned this word, but somehow I'm not able to retain it. So the only solution for that, again, I am not telling you anything new here. The solution is revision. But we are too lazy to revise, aren't we? We never open a book that we have read. Yes, we don't reopen it. So an easier way then is, an easier way out is use that word. Use that word in your conversations. Find the way to use that word in your conversation. Start preparing for your WATs. Somehow incorporate that in your writing. So otherwise, something as simple as a social media post, you're posting on social media, you're writing a message on WhatsApp, why don't you find a way to incorporate the words that you've learned in them? Sometimes it may appear funny also, I won't deny that, but it will just add to the fun in your conversations, trust me. So use that word as much as you can, okay, and that will take care of your remembering that word, right? And again, when we have a vocabulary session, I'll talk to you about association in detail, how you can visually associate a word and all those things. You must have heard of association. So तब हम और डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे कि कैसे हम और ज्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग बना सकते हैं इस प्रोसेस को. Word part does talk about this as well. It briefly touches upon this as well. So there are techniques that are available that you do not forget words. But yes, using it is something that will ensure that you remember it for a long, long time. It becomes a part of your permanent vocabulary. ठीक है? Very good, Pratishta. Yes, that's a very good suggestion for others as well. Coming to Acha, RC99 relevant for CAT. Don't want to comment on this actually. See, it's not a perfect thing, I would say that, and some of the answers may be incorrect there. So I do not recommend any source where some of the answers may be incorrect because it can shake a student's confidence. See, in quant, what happens is you will check it with, let's say, your peers, and you'll realize, "Acha, mera answer sahi hai, uska answer galat hai." But in verbal ability, unless and until you talk to an expert, right, you will not be able to gather that sort of confidence. So that's why I do not recommend any source where you think, where you realize this or you know this, that some of the answers are incorrect. Okay, so that's about it. Tanish, yes, in a couple of colleges, MIM के लिए accept करते हैं some of the colleges. Some European colleges they do. Why don't you again post it in a Telegram group, right? So there is this link that has been shared with you, this bit.ly. Whatever such queries you have about universities, colleges, percentiles, you can post these there, right? They'll get answered. Okay. So ultimately, I think by now you've read this slide, but still let me tell you the way forward. Students ask me, कैसे हम बिल्कुल 99 plus percentile score करें, right? I want to clear at least the English cutoff. I'm weak in English. What is the way forward? So first of all, consistency is something that's very essential for VARC. Maybe you're not very consistent with quant. I'm not demeaning the section in any way, but then fine. If you've learned the formula, you might remember it. If you've learned a trick, you might remember it. In VARC, it does not work this way. The moment you stop practicing RC passages and let's say you pick them up after a month, you'll realize that your accuracy has fallen down. Okay, so follow this preparation plan consistently. Only then will you see an improvement in your reading speed, in your comprehension. Only then will you become diverse readers. ऐसे मत सोचो कि instead of reading 1 hour every day, I'll read 5 hours on one day of the week. I'll read for 5 hours. It does not work that way. Okay. Secondly, when you start taking mocks, this will happen. When you take your first mock, some of you will score really bad. Okay. So the score will be bad. I'm not mincing words here. that happens with everybody. Okay, so it's happening with almost everybody. Maybe the only people who are scoring well at that time are repeaters. They are taking the mock for the second time. Okay, they've taken all the mocks of 2021. So do not get disheartened by low scores. You may be one of those odd students also who scores very high, let's say, or who scores decent in their initial mocks. Then there may come a point when your mock scores may dip. Again, it happens with almost every student that I have come across, that there comes a point when their scores dip in the middle of their prep. Do not get disheartened at this point. Very, very important. A lot of students leave their prep at this point. Okay, and this works in the favor of those who don't, because you will see that scores gradually rise if you stick to taking mocks. ठीक है, so dishearten नहीं होना है. Okay. Again, as I said, Pratishtha, see, I don't recommend any books when it comes to MBA. No, so in other, let's say, other entrance exams, if I talk about Bank PO, there are certain definite books from that you can consult. But if you ask me about MBA, there is no one perfect book that I can recommend to you, because, as I said, that VARC is not. I mean, it's not mathematical, it's not scientific that way, right? कि एक ही सही आंसर हो सकता है. It depends on how you frame your options. Okay, it depends on the explanations that you've extended. So there is no one book in the market till now that I have found to be that perfect. Okay, so I will not recommend any books as such. Past your papers, then your practice material, your mocks, your sectionals, they will suffice. You don't need any books. Okay. All right. And yes, you should work towards, gradually the aim should be that you develop a strategy for the exam. So your test taking, mock taking, sectional taking, which is absolutely primarily important in an entrance exam. Yes, सबसे ज़्यादा important है. This will help you to evolve a strategy. Okay, and that's important when it comes to an entrance exam. So these three things you have to follow diligently. Okay, that's the way forward. Now, if you have any queries, I'm open to taking them. You can tell me. Okay. So I did this in the last session also. Students think that students say कोई एक formula मिल जाए जिससे हम हमारा 99 plus percentile आ जाए. So preparation plus strategy in the context of the framework that we have discussed in the beginning, that is what will lead to a 99 plus percentile. Okay. That's the formula that you have to remember. All right. Now, you can post your queries in case you have any. Meanwhile, this is the PIVAT program that's running right now. Okay, so in case you have taken CAT 2021, you've scored well, or you've scored well in some other exam, then you can enroll in this. This is the number that you have to dial. This is all that you will get under this, right? All of these things, important things. Okay. Then this is the batch that is currently running for CAT 2022. I was talking to you about it. Batch 5, Saral sir, Vikas sir and Sanojan sir, they are teaching in this, right? So I hope you've got all of this. Those who have enrolled, they would know 5,000 plus practice questions. So that's why I said that your practice material is enough. Okay, you don't need a book, so to say, to prepare for it. 90 plus mock test, this is CAT plus all your other exams. Okay, 15 plus mock sectional test, CAT plus all your other exams. So it's a very comprehensive course. It's not just for CAT. Okay? Okay, and yes, if you found value in the session, please do press the like button. Do give me your feedback. Any comments that you have, you can post them here or in the Telegram group that I have discussed with you. Right? The link for that Telegram group is, it was visible in the chat box earlier. And otherwise also, this is the link. Okay, here you can post your queries. All right. Welcome, Pratishtha. Amit is saying how to solve those parajumbles, para summary. So again, see, as I told you that you first have to build those concepts. For that, you have to attend classes. And in case you want to, again, you want to see how to prepare particularly for those, just see some of your past year questions. देखो आपको कैसा लग रहा है उसका difficulty level. Maybe you're already able to solve them, right? And in case not, then on YouTube, you will find on our YouTube channel. Where is the YouTube channel? Here. Yes. On our YouTube channel, you will find some sessions related to para jumbles and para summary as well. I took some for the CAT 2021 batch. All right. So that will help. Self-study sufficient for CAT. Nishant, again, as I said, there is no one answer to this. It all depends. So take a diagnostic test first. Attempt a previous year paper, see where you stand, and I think that will give you 80% उसका आंसर आपको मिल जाएगा. Whether you know your self preparation will be enough for you or not. For some students, yes, it suffices, but some do need help. Okay, some need let's say one whole year of preparation for CAT. Some need just 10 months of preparation. So it varies from student to student. Okay. All right, then this is it from my end. I'll see you next time. Have a good night. Bye.